The Test Drive series began all the way back in 1987, and during that time has had over 15 different games released under the Test Drive name, spanning titles such as the original Test Drive to Test Drive Eve of Destruction, to the more recent Test Drive Unlimited and Unlimited 2, and the very unfortunate existence of Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. So yeah, with a series that's as long running as Test Drive, there are bound to be some bumps in the road. So welcome to the Worst Racing Games, a series where you guys suggest different racing games that you think are terrible, and then I review them and rank them. So today the Sacred Wheel of Worst Racing Games has chosen Test Drive 4 for the PlayStation 1. Or just the PlayStation. So let's just start with a little bit of history about the game. So Test Drive 4 was developed by a company called Pitbull Syndicate. In fact, it was their first ever game. They would go on to work on a few different Test Drive entries, as well as a game called Demolition Racer. Eventually they were bought out by Midway and became Midway Studios Newcastle and brought us two different games, LA Rush and Wheelman. Yeah, that random action game developed by Vin Diesel. Anyway, the game was published by Accolade and would release on the 3rd of November 1997. So with no prior experience with the series except for Test Drive Unlimited, I popped the game on and jumped into a race, and let's see what happened. So yeah, Test Drive 4 is hard as Now I'm probably not the best judge of what is and isn't hard in video games because I have some, let's say, minor skill issues. But Test Drive 4, oh man, this is the first game that I've played in this series that has really tested my patience. Haha, get it? Tested. Like test. Drive. Anyway, I will get back to the difficulty later. So as you can probably see on screen, the tracks in this game are not lap-based, instead they are long, linear roads with checkpoints. Meaning when you start a race you have so much time to get to the next checkpoint, and then when you reach that checkpoint you get more time. Which means not only do you have to worry about racing the opponents, you also have to worry about the time running out. Which for me made this game feel weirdly fresh, because I'm so used to lap-based racing in modern games. Going back to something like this and having checkpoint-based racing only was actually pretty cool. So Test Drive 4 features 14 different cars, with 10 of those being available to you at the start, and 4 being unlocked through winning different cups. These cars include the Dodge Viper, the Jag XJ220, the Shelby Cobra 427, and a few different Chevrolets such as the Camaro and Corvette. And you know what, these car models actually look really good. 1997 was a big year for racing video games. It would see the release of the original Gran Turismo in Japan, as well as Need for Speed 2, so there were some pretty heavy hitters there with some really decent visuals. 1997 also saw Diddy Kong Racing come out, which isn't really relevant to this realistic type of racer, but I just like to mention it nonetheless because the game goes hard. Anyway, my point is, the car models in Test Drive 4, considering its competition, are still very impressive. Now before we go any further, if you're a fan of racing games, or in this case not so great racing games, then why not hit that subscribe button and tap the bell for notifications to stay up to date with the Worst Racing Games series. And whilst you're at it, if you want to be the first to hear about all my upcoming videos, or you just want to come and chat about some cool old games, then join my Discord server using the link in the description below. Anyway, that's enough plugging the channel, let's get back to Test Drive 4. So on top of a decent lineup of cars, Test Drive 4 also features 5 different real-world locations that its tracks take place on. So there are 2 locations from America, being San Francisco and Washington DC, we have Kyoto in Japan, Bern in Switzerland, and then Keswick in the north of England. And honestly, it's just nice to see a track in England that isn't based on London. So Test Drive 4 features 2 different control schemes depending on what type of controller you're playing with. So if you're playing with the analog PS1 controller, which features the 2 analog sticks, then the controls are as follows. To accelerate, you push the right analog stick forwards, and to brake, you push it backwards. And then to steer, you use the left analog stick, although you can also use the D-pad. These controls to me were very, very weird. I haven't played many racing games from the 90s, and I don't know if this was the norm for the PlayStation, but I couldn't really get on with it that well. Which leads me nicely into the other control scheme, which is for the digital controller, which only features the D-pad rather than analog sticks. So to accelerate you hold the X button, to brake you hold the square button, and then to steer you use the D-pad, which personally I found a lot better. The handling in this game isn't the greatest, but using the analog controls made it about 10 times worse. So yeah, handling, that's a thing in Test Drive 4. The steering is very, 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 very sensitive. I'm not sure if that was enough veries to emphasize how incredibly sensitive the steering is, but if you couldn't get the idea, then just imagine the most sensitive thing you can think of and apply it to a steering wheel. Now, sensitive steering might not have been the biggest issue had there not have been a mixture of other things thrown in here. Due to this being a PS1 title, the render distance on tracks is not very high. So unless you know these tracks inside and out, then you're going to get caught off guard by quite tight corners that just come out of nowhere. So mix that in with some heavy braking and then some very sensitive steering, you are 100% going to spin out a lot. But no, that's not everything, because on top of that, you've also got traffic and police to contend with. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, then simply just comment the word drive down below. However, you could also flip my complaints on their head and say this provides a good challenge for a game. And if you're into retrying the same thing over and over again, I'm sure it does. But for me, I was just getting really annoyed. I spent about 5 hours playing Test Drive 4, and I must have won maybe 3 or 4 races in that entire time. There were numerous occasions where I'd come very close to getting first place, to be completely betrayed by the game with some stray traffic, or one of my opponents crashing out and then in turn ruining my race. Part of me does really like the unpredictability of it, but then most of me just gets really frustrated. What I don't get frustrated by, however, is the environments, because they look really, really good. Yes, the rendering distance isn't great, and sometimes things look very pixelated, but this is 1997, and these real-world locations do look pretty good. You can tell that the Keswick track is the north of England, you can tell Washington is Washington, so on and so forth. The tracks they have chosen are varied enough to make the game feel fresh each time you go onto a new track. It's just a shame that when it came to the actual races, I just wanted to smash my controller through the desk. There is one other type of racing in Test Drive 4 that I have forgotten to mention, so let's quickly go over it, and that is drag racing. It's a very small additional part of the game, but it's still pretty cool nonetheless, and in 1997 was pretty innovative for the time. You literally just choose a car, and then you choose your opponent's car, and then you drag race. That's pretty much it. All you have to do is hold accelerate and change your gears. Incredibly, Test Drive 4 also did support multiplayer, but only with the PlayStation Link cable, which is a cable I had no idea existed until making this video. But then again, I was born in 2000, and my earliest gaming memories are with the PS2 and the GameCube. Now, in terms of its sound design, Test Drive 4 is a pretty mixed bag. The engine and general car sound effects are pretty good, although the tyre screeches do sound notably horrible. The game also features a techno soundtrack, which is alright if that's what you're into. It serves the game pretty well. So how would Test Drive 4 hold up in terms of its critical response? Well, unfortunately it doesn't have a Metacritic score, but before it was shut down it held a 71% on Game Rankings. Most critics had an issue with the handling and sensitive steering, although visually they were very impressed with the game. These mixed review scores, however, would not affect sales, with Test Drive 4 selling over 1 million copies on the original PlayStation. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not close to the Gran Turismo sales figures, but how could it be? Anyway, those sales figures were from VG charts. So now the time has come to rank Test Drive 4 on our worst racing games tier list. Now, I sat and thought about this for quite a while, because there were parts of this game that I really enjoyed, but I just can't overlook stupid game design. Poor handling and unavoidable collisions in a racing game at least to me, is just inexcusable. There's really no reason for it. So Test Drive 4 can happily sit in the rubbish category. It's not quite down there with the pure evil of Burnout Legends DS or Most Wanted DS, and it's certainly not so bad that it's good, but I couldn't put it any higher than just rubbish. One thing I do need to say before we close off the video is that if you are a fan of this game growing up, or you just enjoy this game in general, then fair enough, I'm really glad, because these games are meant to be enjoyed. It just wasn't for me. So basically what I'm saying is, don't jump me in the comments. Please, I'm fragile. And so that takes us to the end of this week's episode of Worst Racing Games, and with it our look at Test Drive 4. So what do you guys think of this game, and would you rank it any differently? As always, let me know in the comments down below, and if you have a game you'd like to see in this series, let me know as well. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to leave a like, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe and tap that bell for notifications to stay up to date with this series. I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.